I have no physical Western comics on my shelf. I have like nothing but manga, but I wanted to be true to the theme of the month, which is comic books. I didn't want to do manga books. So I went to the bookstore, I went to the comic book shelves, and I thought it was about time I dabbled in one of the contemporary popular comic book series. Typically, when it comes to trendy media, Breaking Bad, I watched that recently. I watched that like 10 years after the fact. Everybody tried to turn me on to it at the time, but it just was the wrong time and place. Well, I picked up a volume of The Walking Dead
Hey.
and I gave it a shot, and I'm here to talk about it. This is volume one, Days Gone By, and it's from 2005, and it covers the first six single issues of The Walking Dead. There is a bigger compendium if you want to get the first, I think it's like 5 volumes or so. It's a little more expensive, but just because I was trying it, I wanted to see if I like it. And I have seen standalone episodes of Walking Dead. In fact, I recognize a couple of this the scenes in this comic book. I had roommates try and turn me on to it at times, and I would just catch it bits here and there. The concept is around a police officer. His name is Rick. He's from Kentucky, Alex's home state, and he winds up in a little shootout in the road, Alex's backyard, and he winds up in some kind of like comatose in a hospital bed. And when he wakes up, there's zombies everywhere. Now, I don't think it's clear whether there were like zombies or not at the time of the shooting. There was like word around it, and so like it was supposed to blow over, and his family has evacuated to Georgia. And so he bears this in mind and is making his way out of the hospital into the streets, just figuring out what's going on. He doesn't even understand what the zombie phenomenon is. He sees like dead bodies on like the hospital ground, and then he's like saved by a family, like a dad and his son, and then he runs into this kid in the city in Georgia who helps him. He looks like the little guy in the second Indiana Jones movie, and it's a kind of really interesting story development. I think that what sets Walking Dead apart from like your typical comic book is that they try to have like a deeper kind of, I don't want to say political, but like I guess meaningful uh character storylines interact. So when he makes it back to the camp, like his family is there. But one of the issues is there's another guy in the camp and he was presumed dead. And so the wife ended up cheating on him with the man because she felt like she was alone. And then the guy starts to go crazy because like he just can't handle the isolation. He's lost everyone. And this is just one example of like one storyline. Every character is more than just and like a NPC or kind of like just a face. And so I think that really shines through in this first volume. There's a lot of interesting storylines like that, a lot of like complicated scenarios like do we go back into the city to go to the gun store because we are starting to get swarmed? Are they starting to follow us? How can we navigate these situations? And I think it's really impressive in that sense in that it's kind of an exercise in like in foreshadowing what will happen, like just like considering what are all of the possible outcomes here. I'm not much of a zombie guy, but I do appreciate that about this comic book. I do think some of the action scenes tend to kind of get brisked through, which I end up looking over it real quick, and then I miss it. I'm like, huh? Did something happen? People got shot. Another one that got brisked through was, at one point when he makes it back to Georgia chasing his family, he runs into the kid, and he's like, everyone who lived in the city here died. And he's like, everyone, my wife and my kids. What am I gonna do? He's like, listen, we got a camp over here. And then next page, they're right there. That one was a failure
Yeah.
in emotional storytelling to me, but I do think that for the majority of it, like it does land pretty well. And I can give some grace too. Like this is the first volume; these are the first couple issues, so I'm sure that some of these plot devices will get better as you go on. One thing I definitely appreciate is that it did not leave me on a cliffhanger at the end. Like there's a interesting kind of moral dilemma about like should kids wield guns in a zombie apocalypse? can you trust them to do it? And the kid ends up being kind of a hero in the end with like some of the actions. So I was happily impressed with my reading of The Walking Dead Volume One. I would continue it if it's something I was interested in collecting for. I might just go ahead and get the compilation, or you know, I like reading it in this fashion too. You know, I've seen episodes of the show and it's cool, but I think that this is a good medium for it too, and I can see why it got picked up and became as popular as it did.
Nice. This is one I collect. I have that same volume, and that's also how I purchased them, is like in those sets. Yeah, I've always liked The Walking Dead, even before the show, and I enjoyed the comics more. The show has its moments. It's good. Like, it has some good stuff. It's also bad too at points as well. And they just will not stop. They have like 3 of them going now, I think. They need to knock it off. But yeah, I think this was a really good pick for you, Teddy, though, because it does have goofier moments, and the art style itself is like, compared to other comics, it is like it's more stylized too. But yeah, it's like the subject matter is heavy, and like they always focus really well in on the characters. Were there any of the characters in this first volume that you really like attach yourself to?
Hmm. I mean, aside from Rick, not really. I guess I like the wife. I think she's like a kind of cool, complicated character. There's a silent kind of dude. He's very quiet. He's a mechanic. I forget his name. And he dies very early on, but he's got an interesting little backstory. He kind of has like a hero moment. So I kind of that like protector vibe kind of resonates with me. But then there's a lot of unlikable characters too. You know, there's the friend who was also on the police force.
Shane. Yeah, his name's Shane.
Shane, yeah.
Yeah.
And Shane's fishy. He's always like, "You want to go hunting? I think you should come hunting with me." It's like, something's up. So, Shane does not resonate with me, but I think a couple of the other characters kind of get brisked over. I do think like that little kid from Georgia, like I don't know, he's not as complex as I'd like him to be. He's clearly made out to be like this cool kind of kid, but he's a little nervous. And even the kids, I guess I like the son or whatever. That's fine. No particular feelings about any of the other family members in the cabin area. There's a family that takes them in at one point. They're in and out. So I don't feel like I've had the time for any other characters to really resonate with me.
I think you would really like the game, at least the first 2 of like the Telltale ones, because they use
a couple of them are on sale. Season 1, 2 right now.
Season 1 and 2 are worth it. After that, they're not great. But they use the same style as the comics, and they actually follow alongside the comics. They're not about Rick, but they're about other characters that are also in Georgia. And every once in a while, you'll kind of cross paths with stuff from the comics. So like locations or even some characters sometimes will pop in that you're like, oh, I know that guy from the comics, or like, or I guess from the show if you're watching the show too. So yeah, if you like this, I think you would really like that too. And it has the gravity of like making choices. So
cool.
I have a lot of thoughts on The Walking Dead. I never really interfaced with it at all until my girlfriend, and she was like super, super into it. Like they would have like watch parties to watch it, and not with me, but like she and her sister would follow it pretty religiously, and we watched it, I think, up until like season 6 together.
Oof.
And at that point, I think both of us were just like, I think we can just stop or something. But I really liked the first 2 seasons. And in my opinion, I think the show becomes like a woman's show post that. Because like the first couple seasons were like all about survival. And I think you can still tell like the societal stories you want to tell with the backdrop of like a zombie apocalypse and like real horror. And so they were trying to survive, and then those things would come up. Like, yeah, you you've been with my wife, even though, but you guys thought I was dead. Okay, it's there's a lot of emotions going into that, so it's complicated, and they can still tell that while also being afraid of zombies. And then at a certain point, it might have been 3 years, season 4, I can't remember, but in one of them they got to like a town, and they're like, we're just gonna make living in towns work. And at that point, I'm like, oh, this is a show for women. Like, this is not.
Yeah.
They're the zombies are like a thing that's like outside and they're kind of there, but they're not like nobody cares anymore. And so, and like The Walking Dead is it went on for so long that it was like it started almost the wave of zombie things. It was like right at the beginning of that, maybe even helped push it. And it was like, oh, it'd be cool. It'd be cool if like in a zombie thing, your real enemies are like the people. And that was like a thing. And then, but it kept going for so long that everyone got sick of zombies. They're like, yeah, we don't really like zombies anymore. And they're like, we're gonna keep going. And I think only the women stayed to watch because all I hear of the people that like the show are just like chicks. So,
Yeah, the show's overrated. It's good. It has good stuff.
yeah,
I think.
yeah.
Like the first, like I said, the first like 4 seasons up through whenever they like took on the governor guy, eye patch and stuff, and they were like in the prison. That's it's good. It's like really good. And then like after that, yeah, it just kind of falls off.
I think Negan is a cool character, but he's just kind of stuck with like everything else. And
Yeah.
it's just and that story, the Negan story, is basically just the governor.
I
one.
blame fucking Daryl, man, because Daryl didn't exist in the comics, and then they made him for the show, and then he was like a heartthrob. And like I have nothing against Norman Reedus. I like Norman Reedus, but the character Daryl, it's just like took that show, and like he's still going. He has his own show now and stuff.
Yeah,
And it's like I couldn't. No, none of the girls would shut up about Daryl. I blame
it's one of
him.
those things where I don't get. Like, what? I'm a dude, so I guess I don't want to fuck guys, but like Daryl, like that guy.
Yeah, Daryl. Like he looks sweaty and his hair is sideways.
It's
and
like a
he's
head.
Like,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's a head
Daryl,
scratcher.
that guy.
maybe I really
So,
don't know what women want because this is confusing.
Yeah. Yeah, he looks like even before the apocalypse, he didn't know what deodorant was.
Yeah. But I bought my girlfriend the compendium.
Oh no! Did you have to look up Daryl? Who Daryl
I
was?
did.
Yeah, he's made up for the show. He's not in the original story. Like you would have, at the point you went to in the book, Teddy. Daryl's already shown up in the show.
Yeah, I think I've seen him in the show, like in standalone episodes. He's like a complicated character, but yeah, I don't.
Yeah,
He's
I don't see
complicated.
it.
He's dangerous.
yeah.
He's rugged.
Maybe that's why
Sexy.
women like him. I don't know.
Yeah.
They chained his brother to a rooftop. And,
Was his brother in it? In the
his brother.
comics?
His brother was no.
Oh,
No,
okay.
never mind. No, in the show. No, also made up. The show.
Good
I think
character,
that his
cool
brother-
guy. He's good.
Yeah, he was played by what's his name? He's
The
in,
guy
like, a
from
lot of-
Guardians, right?
Yeah, he's in a lot of not James. Yeah, James Gunn stuff, including Guardians. Yeah, and he plays Yondu, and he says, "I'm Mary Poppins, y'all." It's the best line in that movie, and two. It's the best line in Guardians too. Yeah, just like Mary Poppins. Was he cool? Hell yeah. I'm Mary Poppins, y'all.
His claim to fame.
Yeah.
What up, Denny's?
Yeah. What the fuck is up, Denny? Or whatever that was.
I'm Mary
That-
Poppins, y'all.